Welcome to Yildiz Readings 5D, a hub in which we cover your zodiacs, astrology, twin flame path, moon energy, and more. Should you need a booking, you can go to the link below. And for all information relating to our psychic tarot extension, the information is in the box below. Without further ado, let's take a look at what I see coming through for your zodiac sign. Were we wrapping up 2022? More than likely. We did have Mars, the planet of war, obsession, passion, sitting in the house of Gemini from August last year, where it did then ingress into the house of Cancer, which it is deemed in its detriment, but many of us are super excited at the fact that we get a break of that. Separately, we had Saturn shifting into the house of Pisces, which occurred on the 7th of March 2023. It will remain there in the house until 2025. Separately, our big Pluto ingress into the house of Aquarius did occur last month. This also is going to be a huge subject coming in the collective due to the fact it's going to shift between Capricorn and Aquarius, wrapping up its karmic cycle. It can feel a little bit testing, especially now because it was at the 29-degree point, shifting into 0 degrees of Aquarius. We're still trying to get our footings and getting the PDF of what subjects are going to be really looked at with great detail and really cast out because they're simply not working. Let's take a look at how this month is going to be shaped for us and what we need to be prepared for. Now, what can April bring? Number one, we do have an eclipse occurring this month. Number two, we do have Mercury moving retrograde. We're going to feel that mid-month. We also have Mars sitting in the house of Cancer. That can bring themes of emotions to the surface, and we do need to try and be patient. And I definitely see some themes really playing out in a sense of new beginnings. And I found it really interesting at the fact that we had a new moon last month and we're having another new moon in Aries in two sets. So I really felt as though we were going to start something brand new, have an inkling of it, but really not get the full, momentum of it happening. And I do feel we're going to have more clues to this, but it really started to set the stage last month. And so wherever that Aries placement is for each zodiac, which I'll dive into, what I'm seeing is this hybrid partial eclipse that is going to be occurring on the 20th of April 2023. And I feel it's important, don't make any major decisions if you can. Moon is very emotional. It can be home, family, mother, intuitive energy. And Sun is the identity, the logic, and generally speaking through that, we tend to not have either. So, whereby we can delay making decisions, especially because it's already entering into that shadow phase of Mercury retrograde in the house of Taurus. I think it's really important to, I would say, be optimistic, but be cautious. Really, dot your I's and cross your T's. You could feel that some blessings are coming back to you from the past, but it also can be a time where we're going backwards to go forward simultaneously. But I do see this is a brand new chapter. So I would say by mid-month, try to have your ducks in a row. Try and keep as organised as possible and be aware of those inkling frustrations and tension points where we do have that first eclipse of the year, which is a hybrid. We also are having a full moon in the house of Libra. And I think that's pretty interesting because both the axis of Libra and Aries will be coming about later in the year as the nodes move, and they tend to set the tone of what we have astrologically happening globally. And I did say really at a collective level that feminines do need to be very cautious of how they show up in society, of their safety, their wellness, and being that we're entering April with Mars in the house of Cancer, practice safety, practice self-awareness, try to build people up, try to not pull them down, but very much protect yourself where need be. As we do move into the month of April, we are in the vibration of angel number 4. Separately, we can also look to number 11 for added guidance, as we do have it being the 4th month in 2023, breaking down to an 11. Now, what I see coming through for this is we can have this sense that we are feeling very alone, that we're feeling very isolated. This particularly could be because Mars is in the house of Cancer. And so with our endeavors, with our hopes, with our feelings, we can particularly feel misunderstood. Now, 11 is a brand new chapter. We can feel a little bit out of our depth, but know everything is very divinely guided. Alignment is key, but it's a brand new chapter. So again, the tedious frequency of the precipice of change can feel like you are a giraffe trying to gain its bearings. Know that you're not alone and that help is coming. You are going to be attracting in brand new situations. And even if you do feel out of your depth, know that universe has your back. It is the precipice of change that does make us feel very tense. Trust the process. We can feel misunderstood with our feelings, our emotions. And again, Mars can bring volatility to those dynamics. So knowing where Mars in Cancer falls in your chart could be pretty key. And also really getting prepared, because we do have an eclipse this month. And so where you're feeling that there is lack, there are also going to be opportunities. And it's really about getting into alignment, seeking out those situations, having that attention in those areas of your life and enhancing them where need be. The burning question on all of our lips may be, is this month going to be any better? Are we ready? Are we prepared? And what is hidden? And I'm going to cover all of that inside of your zodiac. I will give you tips where I feel are necessary inside of any heavy energy that does potentially come through. And separately, you can book a private session or join a YouTube membership. Let's take a look at your zodiac sign and all the various areas that can play out this month for you. Welcome back, Sagittarius. Let's take a look at your monthly update and what I see coming through for you. Many of you will be very happy that Mars has transitioned out of Gemini and into the house of Cancer due to the fact that it was really intensifying your contract sector. Now, Mars doesn't have to be a nasty thing, although it had been sitting there in the house of Gemini since August last year. It also retrograded, which would have, within your either contracts or partnerships and most intimate connections, caused a lot of issues. This also from a value sense, and within your body, you might have felt very sluggish and very irritable. So as it now is sitting in the house of Cancer, Mars sitting in the house of Cancer, it's deemed as in its detriment, but you will be really emotionally feeling that you're looking for something more stable, and not necessarily are you going to feel that that is possible. Again, this can link to tax, debt, inheritances, legacies, your most intimate partnerships. It's very Pluto in nature as well. And so, yes, there can be some sense of anxiety where it does come to that inside of your life, but it's actually going to push you to really fixate and emotionally look at what you're investing in, what you can depend on, and any shadow work maybe particularly that hasn't been done, linking to potentially people that are transcended over, conflict with individuals, and how you actually deal with your stress levels by pushing it down, which was really coming down to the angel number 4 and 11 that I was seeing for this month, and trying to understand that you're not alone, that you can through this feel alone. And there's sort of like, I call it a pixelation. I call it a sense where we are feeling somehow separate, feeling somehow that others don't understand our standpoint. So I do feel we're going to have to be quite tactical with our approach as we do address these things. This eclipse also will be quite large for your zodiac sign, being that you're Jupiter, and we do have Jupiter sitting in the house of Aries. So your communication style, your routines, how you feel to do with things, information coming in at a drop of a hat is really going to do a 180 on you. So without further ado, let's first look at your romance house and what I see coming through for singles and couples. As mentioned, in the love domain, we did have your 7th house with Mars transiting through it pretty much since August last year. And those of you that made it out alive, a big congratulations. Be it you're single or couple, it could have brought a lot of intensity, misunderstandings, maybe feeling like you were going backwards, blasts from the past that were possible as well, but really trying to see whether both parties could get on the same page. Now, this also in its transition out and into the House of Cancer is still going to really niggle at this situation. And if this connection is not working for you, it can be a time where it does become more intense, especially if we're sweeping things under the carpet, not addressing them. The status quo is remaining the same. The intensity can come through at an emotional level, but this can be a beautiful time also to really iron out those creases, articulate what your needs are. Those of you that are single, this also can be a time, and I really firmly believe this, because Pluto has transitioned out of the House of Capricorn and into the House of Aquarius. Communication really is key. Your day-to-day routine, changing things up, how you express yourself is going to transform. But I definitely see individuals bumping into blasts from the past to really iron out those creases and decide whether it is for them. I do feel that this can be a time where you are looking at wanting partnerships to be working with you. And I do feel, regardless of being single or coupled, you're really going to require that. I also feel if your stress levels in your day-to-day routine is really getting on top of you, some of you could get to a point where you're wanting to tap into the luxuries. You could be really looking at body image, self-esteem and confidence. And there is an opportunity here where that situation can change, but you will have to look after your wellness, which we will get further into it. If you feel you're in the eat, pray, repeat, and it's a comfort situation, even though we are going to be having Venus sitting in the house of Taurus until the 11th, you may feel that you're a little bit in a rut. You may feel more inclined to get irritable if partnerships and friendship groups and love aren't working with you, and like you're giving it all and you're getting nothing back. So it's a little bit like the analogy of giving an ice cream, but nobody's giving to you. I'll be really cautious with that. Just wait till it does transition over. Venus then entering into Gemini can open up opportunities for reconnections with love, be it single or couple, which is a very positive time for you. Really be cautious around your friendship groups. We do have, again, a full moon happening in the House of Libra, which is a Venus sign. And, doing things, you may decide to invest in a situation. You might be looking at your role and your hierarchy and your social responsibilities and what you're getting into in the mix of this connection. There definitely could be a point where those that are in very toxic relationships do look at it and say, look, I really don't see this as a future, and they may pull the pin. Others, though, it can be that you're looking at it and you're going, okay, what do we need to do to get this connection back on track and to proceed forward? You can have falling out with friendship groups this month, however. Let's take a look at your career. Now, those of you that felt that you weren't getting paid your dues, Pluto had been transiting through your second house of your resources. And I do feel you're going to be able to, now that Pluto has ingressed out of Capricorn into Aquarius, you're going to be able to really have a little bit more success with that. So this is an opportunity for you to, look at your money, look at your bills, look at what you're actually getting from your wages, and negotiations may be a little bit easier. I would say to be very cautious because we do have Mercury moving retrograde. We'll feel the kind of rumbles of that by mid-month. But really, if you are needing to sign anything, as everyone says with Mercury retrograde, make sure that you really know what you're getting into and, sign on the dotted line. Any big investments, not that I can advise you financially, but your 11th house with the full moon in Libra can be that you tie up a debt, but it can be that you complete a cycle. You may find bosses leave and you go up a tier level at work, but you can be looking at and reviewing a role at work. Some of you also may complete a project. Great time to really investigate what you think your routine is, and really, state your case. So if it's a pay rise that you're looking for, this can be a time where you're looking at, doing those hard yards, the amount of work you put into it. Mercury is going to have you very busy, but you're going to have to be extremely organized. I also feel, don't burn the candle at both ends. Be very realistic with what you're doing and what you're getting out of it. Review budgets. Because it is transiting through your 6th house. So it's going to really require some drastic changes, especially as Mercury goes retrograde in the same house. I would say really look after your wellness and try to avoid pacifiers this month, because your agitation can increase. If you are looking for new employment, the best time I would say would definitely be during Mercury retrograde, but it's more putting the resumes out so that when it moves direct the following month, the world is your oyster. You get a lot of opportunities and you can select with greater clarity on what you feel is best for you. Okay, now into your wellness zone. I do particularly feel it's going to be important to be organized, and I really do feel a lot of you are going to be looking at your wellness and feeling you're burning the candle at both ends. You may feel like you've had a little bit too much of a good thing for some of you. I do tend to find when we have transits in Taurus, we can tend to overindulge. 6th house can have you in a routine. You can start to become very bored with food, or be, really desiring something with a bit more flavor. But there is a risk of overindulgence. This can be with pacifiers, substances and things to that degree. So be really cautious up until the 11th. Mercury also is retrograding in that zone. So it would be a good time that if you think something is off, use your due diligence, go and get it checked. Don't leave it to later. You do tend to find things that were hidden in a Mercury retrograde can come up. Keep extremely organized, and, get as much as you can get done in the first 2 to 3 weeks, because as things do go retrograde, what you can tend to find is it gets really messy and it gets very stressful, and you don't want to add that extra pressure. So really, organization is going to be the key for you, knowing exactly what you need to tackle, getting all that heavy lifting done prior, and being quite resourceful with your time, really learning the word no so that you can manage your time more effectively, requiring individuals to, do their part so that you're not burning that candle metaphorically, both sides. I do feel we're going to have heart chakra as well. So there's going to be a lot of heart chakra activation, a lot of clearing, and a lot of, emotions that can surface, especially as we do move towards Mercury retrograde and our hybrid eclipse, which I'll go into within your zodiac. The other thing I would say, some of you could get into a health kick, and that's particularly as Venus moves into your romantic zone, but it's also your 7th house, being your body, your image, your vibration of your body. So it could be at this time that, again, for some, it may be that you feel that you need to do something to get your fitness on track. Don't do anything extreme during Mercury retrograde, because what you can find is we can be a little bit more accident prone. Mars also transiting through your 8th house can be for feminines and masculines, the lower region of the body. But anything that's hidden, anything that you feel that needs investigating, eating, well, checking the use by dates of food, especially during Venus, not Venus. Well, it is a Venus in the house of Mercury, so really checking the use by dates, making sure that you're having clean surfaces, and guided meditation. I would avoid spiritual baths near the eclipse, and that's 3 days in, 3 days out, and just really have that support system if possible. Allow the energy to move through. Try to not make any drastic or panicky decisions, and it's going to make more sense. Give it 3 days after at least, but it's really going to set the tone for the next 6 to 12 months. Now, abundance, like I said, I do see there is a possibility of pay rises or some sense of relief coming in that domain. And that's because Pluto has exited your second house. You might have found, depending on your age bracket, over the last 20 years, we did have Pluto transiting through your second house. And that comes down to the wage you get from your career or where you're getting money from. It might be your physical land and material value being your assets. I would say during the time that Mars is in the House of Cancer, we all should really be cautious of our safety. We should be cautious of our home environment and security for home because it's Cancer. So smoke alarms, locking your doors, being aware of your surroundings. I do predict that we will have break-ins, things to do with feminines in the media. So yeah, keeping that there, especially because we will have Mercury moving retrograde, and in that shadow phase by mid-month, I'd definitely update all your passwords. And after and during it going direct, apologies, I would double check all statements, and that's because it is a monetary sign it's retrograding in. And so it can be that maybe a wage comes in late. It might be that you thought you paid a bill, but you didn't. So getting all your ducks in a row ahead of time, and then doing your quality assurance, your due diligence, where you go back into your accounts and you check if money has come in, money has gone out. Sometimes we can have extra payments that come out accidentally. It's Mercury. It's not fun. It's Mercury. We're having an eclipse. Pluto's in Aquarius. So there definitely, to my belief, will be things to do with money coming up in the media in a very, very large way. The other thing I can say is by the full moon in Libra, you may tie up a very large debt. You might be deciding to close a hobby. It could be a hobby that you kick. It might be, no longer wanting to invest in a certain situation. I also feel some of you could finalize paperwork if it was that you were getting a loan or something to that degree, being that it is a full moon in Libra. And the nodes later in the year are going to move into the subject matter this month. So keep an eye on the subject because it's really going to set the tone till 2025. We're only getting a little bit of the PDF at the moment. So the transformations that you have in your 11th house of abundance, it can be abundance, it can be the things you do in your community, it can be community work, it might be a large project, it can be finances. That's moving to the South Node, which means how to achieve that will be in the North Node of Aries. And for you, Aries falls in your 5th house, and it's going to be creativity. Being that there is a new moon there, the eclipse there as well, I definitely feel there can be some changes happening in your love life. Things to do with children, pregnancies can come through. Interesting that I'm mentioning this in abundance because it is a manifestation house. So stay tuned for that. Big bills, you might have big purchases that you get out the way. Anything you need to sign, I would probably do it beforehand. If you can wait, I would wait till the following month for any major things, especially technology. I do tend to find that glitches happen during Mercury retrograde, obviously, and then you may have an issue with a telephone, and then you go to the other side of Mercury direct and you turn the thing on again and it's working. So if you are needing to purchase anything, I would say if there is any outlay, it could potentially be with a vehicle. Not a great time usually to actually purchase a vehicle during Mercury retrograde. So if you are going to do such, make sure your warranties and everything are there and really try to avoid it. I mean, I've actually had clients, I've had my partner, I've had my partner's co-workers, wherever they purchased a vehicle during a Mercury retrograde, it's been a real lemon. And on one occasion, it cost a friend of ours, it was, oh God, it was thousands. So, if you can avoid it, avoid it. Sometimes these things are unavoidable. Keep your warranties, do what you have to do, but you can have some repairs that do come up on a vehicle. Now, entering into this month, We are having the full moon in the house of Libra on the 6th of April 2023. Now, collectively, we can find that we are looking at our wellness. Something can be coming to a head. We can have such in the media. Very separately, what we can find within our own personal zodiacs is key things relating to wellness, love, abundance, balance, and justice. I do feel, as we do look at this at a collective level, I do feel we are going to be really reworking what we can do to keep ourselves grounded, keep ourselves healthy, and to find the most stable way to have a brand new beginning without being codependent. Due to the fact the next moon is going to be a hybrid eclipse, which I'll get into in a moment. Let's take a look at how this links to your zodiac sign and what I see coming up for you with the full moon in Libra on the 6th of April 2023. Now, although I've already mentioned it inside of your abundance, I do see, particularly for a lot of you, during this full moon in Libra, you could have a brand new position come through. Some of you could have a severing of a tie with a friend. Some of you can complete a goal and launch. This could be creative projects. You also may have great ideas in the money sector. I do see also, even though it's a full moon, it's like finishing something. It could be that you're tweaking something in your life and saying, you know what, I know what's going to work now. So, pardon me, I'm going to pour my energy over here and I'm going to invest in this. It also can be investments. If you were waiting on paperwork, you may find that it comes through, you complete it. It could be a loan comes through for you. It can be an investment or a large big ticket item. But for some of you, it can be that you have real concerns around wealth and abundance and you're trying to work things out. But it can be that you're completing a cycle and entering a brand new one. So it can be going to a new tier level financially. Now, in the romantic sense, this also can be a time where you have big decisions to do with your personal freedom, what you're doing in the connection versus what others are. It is moon, it is home. It can also be your home budget that you are reviewing and you are looking at different ways you can handle it. But I definitely feel there can be some big changes overall happening both in love, home, and with your wealth moving forward. Now, the very first eclipse of the year has come in two sets. The moon is deemed as a black moon, is because we had two new moons in one set being Aries. Now, this is the first eclipse of the year, being a hybrid partial solar eclipse in Aries on the 20th of April 2023. Now, it's also at the critical degrees, and being a new moon, I do particularly feel this can be something quite radically changing very quickly, especially because this is your first house of self. This could be a time in which, with Mercury retrograde, don't do anything drastic when it does come to your hair, your makeup, plastic surgery. I would pause. Now, Mars wants to go in where, it wants to move forward. It's in a hurry. This would be the time where benefits from the past can come. People can appreciate you. You have large revelations to do with yourself. Also, where you're living, feeling, sensing, intuition can come up. But I would say don't rush. I do particularly feel, because we do have situations retrograding at this point, and this is eclipse, as much as possible, we may find that there's more information coming to us, and this can really aid us through having that brand new direction and confidence for the future. I do particularly feel for you at a personal level, this could be anything to the degree of gaining confidence, having clarity, making a conscious choice of a brand new way that you're going to be, defying the odds, so to speak, not putting up with rubbish. This also could be image changes, quite radically so. And I do particularly feel you could be putting your foot down and saying, I know what I want and I've life and I'm going to go and get it. Status also can come into this. So you could go to rags to riches, riches to fame. Again, I would take time with that. This also can be engagements. and personal changes that you physically go through your own personal status. But I do feel it can be greatly healing, and confidence can resurface yet again. Don't be surprised if you do go down the rabbit hole of emotions during it, but it is really going to set the stage. And once we unpack and digest what that is, you may very well find that as we proceed through the next 6 months into 2025, really, because the nodes will be shifting by such that new tone for your life, both with your marriages, contracts, partnerships, and yourself, you versus other people, is going to look extremely different. Get ready for that 180, baby. Now, with the circle of energy, very separately, that I didn't mention, we may find during this time that we do see things to do with the economy, things to do with you at a personal level, which will be very creative. It can be starting new creative projects, having a baby, falling pregnant, a brand new romance, revelations in relation to where the connection is going, be it you're single or couple, and also your own personal budget and what you can have to really use, at your disposition creatively. I also feel that there could be some new hobbies and social endeavors that you do partake in. But I do generally find that the fifth house is very creative. So if you're not ready for that creativity, it can be a project, a business launch. Probably not the best time to launch, but to investigate. And that's because during this hybrid partial solar eclipse in Aries, what is happening is we do have Mercury retrograding in a Venus sign, the house of Taurus. So it can be that you if you do launch during that time, it can be a little bit problematic and messy, but you can find over the next 6 months that you're really honing in and focusing on that. There can be a new way that you're relating to love, and I definitely feel there could be a new way you relate to your inner child, your playfulness, having the confidence to be yourself. This also can be to do with your body, very sporty in nature, doing things that are, taking you out of your comfort zone and socializing in a different way. This also could be something of in relation to your work, where you are taking on a creative process and maybe teaching other individuals in some shape or form. And I definitely see that coming through in the future for you. I would say as we do move into the eclipse, it's really key about 3 days before, 3 days after. Try and get your bearings. Try and not make any major decisions. Keep your patience. Allow the energy to kind of transition through you so you understand what these subject matters are. And then where you need to make a decision, but do remember that old situations from the past, cleaning up, paperwork may be linked to this situation. Due to the fact that Mercury will be retrograde in Taurus. So don't overschedule yourself, and take time. Spiritual baths you can do after, really keeping hydrated and avoiding pacifiers. Now you will be very focused on your 8th house with Mars entering Cancer, and as I mentioned, a lot of you are going to be very happy that it's out of the house of Gemini. Venus enters Gemini on the 11th, so you can get some benefits from a connection. It could be a contract you're signing. It might be relationships getting back on track. But it also can be a time where if you felt it really wasn't where it needed to be, it can still linger until it's directly addressed. And Mars entering the house of Cancer, which it did last month, what it can do is the give and take. You're going to really critically look at it. You also could have inheritances coming through in this domain, and there can be disputes, especially with Mars being in that house. There can be upset feelings, a feeling of lack, and this could have been an old situation, but I really feel you're going to be deeply focused on creating stability. Mars tends to make us very obsessive. Cancer can make us feel quite emotional. It's a little bit like going to the shops hungry, especially for those of us that have heard this. It's that if you're hungry and you shop, you're actually going to spend more. So it's being hangry, getting to the point where you know that you can't really make a logical decision if you are aggressive, angry, or emotional. So stepping back from that painting, looking at it, And, you know, being really nurturing to yourself. It could be that you need to look after your body, get fit. You're burning the candle at both ends. You have to be super cautious of that during this time. This also can be a time that you are dealing with tax, debt, legacies, inheritances, deeper intimacy, really looking at your life and saying, okay, where can I find that stability that I can depend on? I actually don't find the 8th house a terrible thing. I find the 8th house to be a very mature energy, that you're looking for sustainability. You're looking for something you directly can depend on, something that is going to be a legacy to a degree. So your obsession is going to go into that department at the moment. It might be really making you a little bit agitated. Try to be gentle with yourself. It is going to pass. This also can be a time where you look at the give and take within either your contract sector or your romantic sector. And if you feel it's not on par, you could kick it to the curb and actually, you know, proceed and exit stage. So Mercury enters the house of Taurus from the 3rd of April, and you will be very focused on getting things in order. You may be very social. You might find that you eat more during this time. Money-related dynamics, romantic-related dynamics can come up, but it could be that you're really tightening the belt, getting things organized, doing paperwork. This could be for loans, you know, working hard for your money. You're going to have a lot on your plate, so keep organized. Now it's going to be in retrograde by the 21st, but we're going to feel it by mid-month. So well and truly get your ducks in a row, keep organized. If you have any appointments, understand if they're happening later in the month, there can be some delays. This can be delays with deliveries, delays with postage, delays with money coming into the bank. So get your ducks in a row. We could also see weather patterns becoming a little bit funky. And again, Taurus being a Venus sign, it can be in the resource sector. So this collectively can be, you know, delays in stock getting into shopping centres, delays in postage services, crosswires with addresses, hacking, things to that degree we are collectively going to see. So do what you need to do to get your ducks in a row. Have your essentials at home. Be aware of the environment. Mars in Cancer and Mercury retrograding in Taurus, plus Pluto in Aquarius. Yeah, we're going to see some interesting things, especially where it does come to homes and home damage, or yeah, people worried about how they can provide for themselves. But there is solutions, and this is not permanent. These are changing times, and knowing the weather is key. So by being organized, you can be prepared for it. As it goes direct, there can be a delay with certain things. So, you know, where you feel you need to get your essentials, get your essentials. There can be a couple of weeks delay moving into the next month, and then things should go back to what we deem as the new normal. Let's take a look at some of the psychic messages I have for your zodiac sign. And then if you do wish to get the extension, you can go through to our YouTube membership or read the information below for the Psychic Tarot extension. Without further ado, let's take a look at your psychic update and what I see coming through for you. Sag, I feel you've had a rough few years. I do feel that you're trying to look for people to understand you, people to love you for who you are. I do feel you're deeply misunderstood. I do feel there's been some pressure you've been putting on yourself over the last few years, and I feel that's going to start coming out. It's going to be where you're going to be really fine-tuning who you're mixing with, who you're talking to, how you feel, and those nearest and dearest to you will always understand you. So I do think it's really important to understand that. During this time, you can find that you are feeling a little bit like a deer in the woods. All of it's on you. And, you know, how are you going to achieve this? You do have Lady Luck on your side, Dales, and that's because you do have, you are Jupiter in nature. You are the protector of individuals, but you also have to protect yourself. You know, it's a little bit like the analogy of the air hostess saying to you, okay, turbulence belt on, you put the air on your face first before you give it to somebody else. And that's because if you're not okay, nobody else is okay. I do particularly feel you can be regressing back and looking at loved ones that have passed over, feeling like, you know, a speck of sand on the planet, and that, you know, where do you go from here? And I do feel that clarity is going to come for you. So try and stay patient. We'll get into your psychic tarot read come through and join us in the Members Hub, and I'll see you next month. Take care, beautifuls. I hope to see you through on the other side in our YouTube membership for your Psychic Tarot extension. Come through and take a look what I see coming through for you. I hope to see you through on the other side in our YouTube membership.